Extinction is forever, except for when it isn't. Take the coelacanth, for instance. Scientists discovered coelacanth fossils during the 19th century. Experts dated the oldest known coelacanth fossils to at least 410 million years old. According to the mainstream narrative of the day, coelacanths went extinct about 66 million years ago during the late Cretaceous epoch. But no one told the coelacanths. As it turns out, coelacanths are an example, the best known example, of a Lazarus taxon. The term Lazarus taxon comes from the story in the Bible in which Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. The tale is found in John chapter 11, verses 32 through 44. In the same way that Lazarus came forth from his tomb, alive and well, so too did the coelacanth. On December 23, 1938, a fisherman caught a coelacanth off the coast of South Africa. Wikipedia says, Courtney Latimer contacted a Rhodes University ichthyologist, J.L.B. Smith, sending him drawings of the fish, and he confirmed the fish's importance with a famous cable. Most important preserved skeleton and gills equals fish described. The rest is history. Since the initial discovery, other coelacanths have been found. The coelacanth truly is a living fossil. Most everyone familiar with cryptozoology, the study of hidden or undiscovered animals, has heard the coelacanth story many times over, so I apologize for repeating it. However, due to its importance, I feel the coelacanth discovery warrants repetition. It is a perfect illustration of the content that I will present in this book and in future books that belong to this series. The Brazilian three-banded armadillo is another Lazarus taxon. It was extinct until its rediscovery in 1988. Though not quite as sexy as the coelacanth's sudden reappearance, and not as cute as an armadillo that can roll itself into a ball, the Laotian rock rat came back to life too. This species of rat had been extinct for over 11 million years, supposedly dying off during the later stages of the Miocene epoch. But somehow, against all odds, Laotian rock rats appeared in a meat market in 1996. Of course, I'm being facetious. The locals had long known about the rats. It was the experts that believed the Laotian rock was extinct. Meanwhile, the locals had been serving them for dinner all along. Locals know a lot. They are far more familiar with the plants and animals where they live than someone born thousands of miles away with a bunch of degrees hanging in his or her office. This is especially true of those locals who are just regular, hard-working folks, salt-of-the-earth types. Case in point, in 2017, Reuters ran a story about another amazing discovery. The piece was titled, Big Tree-Dwelling Rodent Found in Solomon Islands. The gist of the story was that local islanders had long told scientists of a massive rat, about 1.5 feet long, with reddish fur. Of course, the experts did not believe the existence of the enormous rat, called the vika, until they spotted it themselves. Only then did the Vika officially exist. But the experts still held on to their stubborn, skeptical ways. Even though the locals were right about the existence of the Vika, the know-it-all class stuck to their doubts about the local stories. For instance, locals claimed the Vika chews holes through coconuts and eats the inside. But Tyrone Lavery of the Field Museum in Chicago said, "I haven't found proof of this yet, but I have found that they can eat a very thick-shelled nut called an ingale nut. Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure if the locals say Vikas eat coconuts, then they eat coconuts." It is not an exaggeration or figurative expression. The indigenous people damn sure know the difference between an ingale nut and a coconut. Indigenous folks living in South America's Gran Chaco knew the Chacoan peccary was alive and well and did not go extinct at the end of the last ice age. Scientists caught up to the locals in 1971. The New Guinea big-eared bat had been extinct since around 1890. That is, until scientists caught one in a bat trap in 2012. Officials declared the Caribbean monk seal extinct in 2008. This had been a long time coming, as the last confirmed living Caribbean monk seal dated back to 1952. Scientists made many attempts to locate surviving Caribbean monk seals, which included aerial surveys. Though they found nothing, to me, that does not mean there aren't a few stragglers hanging around. After all, trying to locate a seal or a small number of seals over a vast stretch of water is tantamount to finding the proverbial needle in a haystack. In 1997, interviewers spoke to 93 fishermen from villages in Haiti and Jamaica. Of those, 16 claimed to have seen at least one Caribbean monk seal during the last 2 years. To this day, divers and fishermen report seeing a Caribbean monk seal from time to time. Of course, most scientists are skeptical of the claims and attribute the sightings to hooded seals. There are confirmed sightings of hooded seals as far south as Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So, essentially, the experts are saying, yeah, the fishermen are spotting seals, they are just mistaking the type of seal. As if the folks on the water every day can't spot the difference. I suppose it comes down to who you believe. Do you believe the experts? Or do you take the word of hard-working locals who scratch out a meager living on the water? I know who I side with. I will take the word of locals who spend the bulk of their waking hours on the water over scientists 100 times out of 100. I've never been a big believer that scientists really know when a species has gone extinct. Think about it. The last critically endangered species does not find an expert to check in with before it dies. Despite their best efforts, scientists cannot comb every square inch of land and water to determine if, in fact, the last of its kind has died. I suppose that is why a species of giant tortoise thought extinct made a comeback in the Galapagos Islands in June 2022. No one, and by no one, what is meant is no experts, had seen these tortoises in 100 years. So they are not really making a comeback, as scientists claim, so much as they just never went anywhere to begin with. This is why you'll have to excuse my skepticism that Australia's legendary Tasmanian tiger went extinct in 1936. There have been credible reports of its existence after 1936, including recent reports which I lean toward believing. Officially, the last mountain lion in my home state of Virginia was killed in Washington County in 1882. But that was always a head-scratcher for me. How exactly can something like that even be known? But the better question is, how can something unknowable be accepted as truth? Virginians have spotted mountain lions since their extinction and continue to do so into the present day. Others and I have found mountain lion tracks and scat on lonely mountain ridges in the Old Dominion. Folks are coming around now and at least concede western mountain lions are migrating east. Surely this is true. But I think eastern cougars didn't all die off. Pockets of survivors have always been in remote mountainous areas of Virginia and beyond. That is the point of this book and this new series of books. We can't know when the last animal of its kind dies. I read an article a few weeks ago on the Science Times website titled "Black-naped Pheasant Pigeon Walks Back into Existence, Spotted in Papua New Guinea After 140 Years." So again, we can't know when the last of its kind checks out. This is especially true when the species in question went extinct before any of the experts were even alive. How can we know dinosaurs have been extinct for 66 million years? Believable reports and local legends from Africa and South America say the opposite is true. Pterosaurs still glide over the skies of New Guinea, according to locals. More to the subject of this book, Native American lore tells of mammoths and mastodons living into recent times. The founder of the field of cryptozoology, Bernard Heuvelmans, 1916 to 2001, was open to the idea of mammoths still being alive. In his seminal work on the track of unknown animals, he wrote, "Perhaps we first of all ought to prove conclusively that the mammoth is really extinct." I can certainly understand doubts that many have concerning living mammoths. These are enormous animals, not the rats mentioned earlier. Surely, a creature as large as a mammoth would be easy to locate, even in remote areas. By now, some sort of concrete evidence would have surfaced, right? Maybe not. For starters, no one is looking for mammoths because we know they are extinct. But even if the hunt was on, finding concrete evidence is a daunting task. To demonstrate how hard it is to pinpoint a large animal, consider the following stories. On December 15, 2022, UPI reported a cow that escaped from a farm in New York's Long Island region was safely recaptured 4 months later on a nearby golf course. So, on Long Island, where the population density is 5,859.5 inhabitants per square mile, a cow was missing for 4 months. Long Island, not eastern Montana. Long Island. Mull that over for a bit. On September 29, 2022, UPI ran a story titled "Escaped Rodeo Bulls Evade Capture for Weeks in Iowa." On September 3rd, 5 bulls escaped from a Labor Day weekend rodeo. 2 were caught, but 3 others remained unaccounted for until October. One of the 3 was captured on September 30th, and 2 others were found shot dead in a soybean field on October 1st. The point of this example is that 3 rodeo bulls were able to run amok for nearly a month, while authorities and their owners were on the lookout for them. In an even better example of how hard it is to track down a large animal, UPI reported on May 26, 2022, that authorities had finally captured a loose bison. The 1,300-pound bison, nicknamed Tyson, had been missing in Illinois for 8 months after escaping from a trailer. Think about that for a moment. Something as large as a bison evaded capture for 8 months in the Chicago suburbs, not the remote Canadian wilderness. It took cattle capture experts on horseback, aided by drones and dogs, to bring in the wily escapee. This after months of sporadic sightings. If a 1,300-pound bison can escape from a suburban farm and remain at large for 8 months outside Chicago, you can't tell me small herds of mammoths couldn't avoid detection in the endless forests of Siberia. Likewise, most anything could hide from us, up to and including dinosaurs, in the impenetrable Amazonian rainforests. I hope the listener will consider the case of Tyson the bison as I present my argument that mammoths and mastodons may have survived extinction, or at least lived until a few hundred years ago. To close out this chapter, I will appeal to the unicorn. I've often wondered if the unicorns mentioned in the Bible are a hazy recollection of Siberian unicorns. The following verses provide much food for thought. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. Numbers, chapter 23, verse 22. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. He shall eat up the nations his enemies, and shall break their bones, and pierce them through with his arrows. Numbers, chapter 24, verse 8. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 17. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searcheth after every green thing. 9. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? 10. Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Job, chapter 39, verse 8 through 10. Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns. Psalm, chapter 22, verse 21. He maketh them also to skip like a calf. Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. Psalm, chapter 29, verse 6. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Psalm, chapter 92, verse 10. Did a small remnant of Siberian unicorns survive until biblical times? It's a stretch, but I can't help but wonder, especially when considering scientists recently came to the conclusion that Siberian unicorns did not go extinct when they initially thought. Officially called Elasmothrium sibericum, the Siberian unicorn is an extinct genus of large rhinoceros. Siberian unicorns reach sizes of 6 feet tall, 12 feet long, weighed more than 4 tons, and had a single horn reaching 3 feet in length. Scientists had long believed the Siberian unicorn went extinct about 200,000 years ago. However, they recently revised their position and now claim the enormous animals existed until about 39,000 years ago. In other words, Siberian unicorns walked alongside modern humans. The new Siberian unicorn time frame represents a correction of more than 160,000 years. Think about that. Then ask yourself, in light of this enormous revision, is my seeking a correction of a few thousand years for mammoths and mastodons really as insane as many would have you believe? Continue listening, then reach your own conclusion.